to Oilers Nation Everyday with your hosts, Tyler and Liam.
Oh, just imagining a world where Connor McDavid and Macklin Celebrini could both be on the Oilers. Oh, now I'm imagining a world where they're both on the Sharks. Let's get into it with the lead. Oh, no, they won't play on. You know what? I don't want them on the same NHL team. The path to McDavid becoming a Shark is unfortunately way more clear than the path to Celebrini becoming an Oiler. So you know what? We'll just watch him at Team Canada, and we're good enough. That's enough. That's fine. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday. We are live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online, sportscloset.ca. Check out all of the sweet red, white, and black, I guess, gear they have. Sportscloset.ca. The show is also a presentation of Bet365. Download the app. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use that promo code NATION. Amanda's in the lead before 12:01. Yeah, we're dialed in today. Going to be a short edition of the show. Happy Family Day to everybody. Hope you're all enjoying your time off. I'm sure there are a lot of you who are not at work and watching me in the usual spot. So if you are still throwing on the show, I appreciate you popping in. Going to be a very Olympic-heavy edition of the show today. Lots of Winter Games talk to get to on the program. Jason Gregor, our friend from, the Jason Gregor Show, Sports 1440, Oilers Nation YouTube, the DFO Rundown with Jeff Merrick and Mike Rupp. Gregor is everywhere. He's going to join us today, give us his take on how things have shaped out shaken down out in Italy. So lots to get to. Where is the English Prince, says Clapper. Liam's off today. He did not get fired. He's just off. He was skiing yesterday. He's out in the mountains for the long weekend, and I said, you don't worry about that. I got this one handled. Someone said, happy Family Day triple time today. Oh, my God. What job are you working where they're paying you triple time today? That's wild. But, again, lots of Olympic storylines, lots of Winter Games storylines to get to today on the program. But let's just kick things off with sort of a look back at the round robin for Hockey Canada. It was a dominant win on the men's side of things to close out the preliminary round or the round robin, whatever the hell you want to call it. 10-2, the final. Canada takes down France. Predictably, a blowout win for Canada. Again, the one thing that they were obviously playing for was trying to get the widest goal differential possible so that it would be close to impossible for the Americans to catch them for the number one seed. We'll have more on that in just a second. But Canada accomplished that. They beat France 10-2. At that point, the only way U.S. could have caught them, I think, was if they would have beaten Germany by, I think it might have been 10 goals at that point. So it just obviously wasn't going to happen. So Canada kind of did their job and left no doubt in everyone's minds that they are the number one seed. And what that means is they're going to get the winner of Czechia, Denmark. And then from that point, you get a whole bunch of reseeding. Again, I'll save some of that conversation for a little bit, but a handful of notables coming out of this hockey game. First off, Connor McDavid is still just unbelievable. 3 straight 3-point performances for the Oilers captain, number 97, with 9 points, has already set the record for most points in the men's tournament with NHL involvement. That 9 breaks the mark of 8 that Jonathan Toews had back in Vancouver. Like wild stuff here we're talking about with McDavid. This is not just a guy who's playing, the best hockey of his career or the best hockey that we've seen in a Maple Leaf. This is a guy who is having an all-time Olympic period here. This is one of the best stretches of hockey I don't think this is a stretch considering the pace he's on. This might be the best stretch of hockey we've seen in the last 25 years of the sport. Like the fact he is on this stage, the Winter Games stage, the whole sporting world watching, and he's at 9 points. He is 2 points away from tying the record for most points in an Olympics with NHL involvement. The record's 11. It was Koivu and Solani, I think, back in 2006. Man, 2 points away, and he's still got at least a quarterfinal game to do it. And again, they're probably playing Czechia or they are playing Czechia or Denmark. One of those teams he already has a 3-point performance against, and now the stakes are going to be turned up even more, and Connor McDavid's going to be even more charged up. Like, the odds would tell you he is going to tie the record in the quarterfinals at a minimum, and at the latest, the semis, he will have set the record for the most points by an NHLer in one Winter Games. Absolutely insane stuff. Absolutely insane stuff that Connor McDavid's doing, and a big part of it, I see it. So can we trade Jari and Mangiapane for Celebrini? McDavid is making Celebrini look good. 97 doesn't need anyone to make him play good. Okay, I'll disagree with you a little bit here. Let's not ignore what Macklin Celebrini is contributing here. Everyone was talking about how Tom Wilson, you need him for the forecheck and the physicality. Okay, let's go back and watch these games, and full marks to Tom Wilson, who I think's been great, and we'll talk about the fights and all of that kind of stuff. Yes, but Tom Wilson's been awesome. Go watch and keep watching going forward how often it's Macklin Celebrini as the first forward on the forecheck. When you're watching the game, make a conscious effort to say, how often is Macklin Celebrini the F1, the first guy getting in there when Canada dumps in the puck? It's a lot. This guy forechecks like an absolute demon. Tom Wilson, again, has been great. And then to the point on Connor McDavid, like, yes, I agree that Connor McDavid doesn't need anybody to make him look good. You could put any two players on Team Canada with Connor McDavid, and the results would probably be pretty decent. Again, though, we can look back to Four Nations last year, and we can look back to Sidney Crosby in 2010. It's not always easy to have someone who you just toss up on a top line with a generational, truly elite, whatever verbiage you want to use to describe them. It's not that easy to just throw someone up there and say, go be productive, which, again, is what makes Macklin Celebrini so special. He's 19 years old, and I laughed yesterday on the DFO postgame show that you never get confused that he's 19. He looks like a 19-year-old. He looks like a relative toddler when he's sitting next to McDavid, especially when he's sitting next to someone like Sidney Crosby. But I don't think you can just say, oh, anyone would be good with McDavid, because we've seen in the past that it's not true, and we've really never seen a player at the best on best level in these last two events now that we've seen Connor McDavid at. I suppose you could go back to the World Cup when he was on Team North America, but that doesn't really count. In these last two best on best, no one's fit in this well. Last year, they gave him Point and Stone and Marner, and we never got this from anybody. And that speaks to how truly special Macklin Celebrini is. And listen, this is not a new thing. Macklin, this isn't, I'm refusing to call this a coming out party for Macklin Celebrini, because if you're someone who's paid attention to the sport for the last 4 or 5 months here, if you paid attention to the sport last year in his great rookie season, but this year, if you've been paying attention, and I think there's maybe a lot of people on the East Coast in the Eastern time zone who don't stay up late and aren't watching the San Jose Sharks play hockey as much as maybe we are watching the Pacific Division as closely as we, a collective fan base, do. I was someone who was very vocal heading in, basically since Christmas time, January. I was pulling up the numbers. Macklin Celebrini was the MVP when the league took a pause for the Olympics. I think he's way more valuable to the Sharks than McDavid is to the Oilers and McKinnon is to the Avs. McKinnon has Makar, McKinnon has Natchez, McKinnon has all these guys. McDavid, again, he has Draisaitl, he has Hyman. Look at the production spike in McDavid once he got Zach Hyman back in the lineup. Like, they have help. They're still the two best players on the planet. I'm not saying Macklin Celebrini's overtaken that throne from either one of them, but he has more than double the amount of points that of second place on the San Jose Sharks. Like, let's not sit here. 81 points. I think second on the team is Will Smith, and he's got like 38 or some shit like that. Like, it's ridiculous what Macklin Celebrini's doing. So I'm not calling this a coming out party. D, you maybe make a good point saying Canada's been playing weaker teams in the Olympics compared to the Four Nations. Sure. And when the tests get harder, again, maybe we'll see some things change and some players not quite be as dominant. But what I've seen from Macklin Celebrini is just him sending a message to the hockey world and stamping that, like, I am a true superstar. He is, and I see someone asking it, are you going to have the Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini conversation? There is no conversation. Connor Bedard's having a great season in Chicago. I think Connor Bedard probably could have been on this Olympic team and probably could have been fine. I don't think Connor Bedard would do this. I don't know if he has this sort of a level to him. I don't know if he has this level of versatility to him. Like, again, Macklin Celebrini, they flip him onto the wing, and he's just magical with Connor McDavid. No moment's too big for him. Goes out there for the penalty shot, doesn't even think twice, buries it. They did the really good segment on the panel with BX and them where they showed all the times where he's beaver tapping and yelling for the puck from Connor McDavid, like a 19-year-old kid on the stage of the Winter Games, playing with the best player in the world. His first time doing true best on best in a Maple Leaf sweater. First time wearing the Maple Leaf jersey. I guess he did the World Championships last year. And this guy's not afraid to call for the puck from Connor McDavid. Like, it's unbelievable. Andrew, I like this point. Simplistic comparisons, not direct. Macklin's more McDavid, Bedard is more Matthews. I think that's honestly probably fair. Connor Bedard's a great player. I think Connor Bedard will win an MVP at some point in his career. I think Macklin Celebrini will win MVPs, plural, in his career. He's that damn good, and these Olympics are showing it to the entire world that if you were sleeping on him for the first few months of the season and not totally buying into whatever, buy in now. Buy your Macklin Celebrini stock. The best way to do that is probably go to Bet365, bet on him to win the Hart Trophy, and I'll be honest, I'm very curious to see what those odds are. Bet365 regular season awards, Hart Trophy, McKinnon -150. Macklin Celebrini's now second on that board at +225. Kucherov 600. McDavid's all the way down to fourth at +1,000. Macklin Celebrini to win that Hart Trophy at +225. I think there is still very good value on that. So Celebrini has been an amazing, amazing story at these Winter Games. We'll get Jason Gregor's take on that in a little bit. Tom Wilson snapping, losing his shit. I didn't love it. Again, we kind of heard no fighting in the Olympics, and I'll put my hand up. I wasn't totally sure what the rules on it were. I knew you got kicked out. I was sitting there going, under 10 minutes to go in the game, he just got a 20-minute misconduct thrown out of the. I'm like, he's sitting for the next game. And that also wasn't like, I don't know if that was necessarily Tom Wilson being like, I know the rules. I can go out and fight. He snapped. He did not go out onto the ice being like, I'm going to stick up for my teammate, drop the gloves with somebody, and away we'll go. He just lost his cool because he was grabbing linesmen. He was going back for seconds. Like, that wasn't a controlled, I'm sending a message with a fight. That was a guy losing his cool. And to be fair, I think Nathan McKinnon also lost his cool a little bit. There's kind of two ways this can go. I was on with Jeff Merrick yesterday. We're live after every single Canada game on the Daily Faceoff YouTube together. I was on with Merrick, and Merrick said, maybe this is a bit of a coaching moment for John Cooper to say, all right, Nate, you were running around like crazy. Tom Wilson goes and has his big fight. You got it out of your system, all right? When we get to the quarterfinals, if teams want to take shots at us because we're up 6-1, this, that, the other thing, let them. You got it out of your system. You showed everybody that you'll stand up for each other. Maybe it galvanizes the group, brings them together a little bit more. Everyone's probably hooting and hollering at Tom Wilson in the locker room, all of that. And I see a comment here, like, I was worried he was going to miss another game. Yeah, like, at this point now, if you're Wilson and if you're McKinnon, like, McKinnon was running around a little bit at the end. We know how the IIHF can get at times, or international hockey. We know how it can get at times. And I know there's NHL refs there too. Like, the games they've been letting more go than I thought. If Canada's up 6-1 on Czechia and Radko Gudas takes a liberty on someone, I don't want Nathan McKinnon running around the same way he was running around at the end of that France game, because one split-second decision where you stick out a knee, you pop out an elbow, you don't think twice about it, you get a guy in an awkward spot, you could be sitting for a semifinal game, and it's not worth the risk. So my take on it is it was wildly entertaining. A Gordie Howe hat trick in the Olympics is very, very awesome. All of that good stuff. We're good now, though. Tom Wilson, go back to doing what you were doing the first couple of games. Forecheck hard. You're playing top line minutes. You don't need to necessarily keep running around like that. I see our guest is here, so we can pop over and welcome in Jason Gregor. He's brought to you by Oodle Noodle. Oodle Noodle is proud to partner with Sports Central. 10% of all proceeds from every signature box goes to support Sports Central. Find out more at oodlenoodle.ca. Also, you can win your way into the nation vacation just by eating at Oodle Noodle. Find a location near you. No purchase necessary. So right when you walk in the door, find that ballot box, fill it out. Boom. You are entered to come on a trip for two on the nation vacation to Vegas in March. And then when you make a purchase, you get another ballot as well. So you eat delicious noodles. You can get as many as 2 entries every time you visit. Why not just go and eat Oodle Noodle for the next week and have a shot at coming with us to beautiful Las Vegas in just over a month, as we welcome in Jason Gregor from the DFO Rundown and the Jason Gregor Show. Gregs, what did you make of Wilson, McKinnon kind of losing their cool? Like, again, I don't mean to make it a bigger story than it needs to be, but I think the message in that Canada room should be, all right, we got it out of our system. Like, we're good with that stuff now.
Yeah, I don't really have an issue at all with Wilson. He didn't even throw a punch. I thought he was very controlled in what was really a wrestling match. They didn't even a fight for what? That wouldn't be a fight in the NHL, because just because your gloves are off doesn't mean it's a fight. As for Nathan McKinnon, I'm never neutering a stallion. He, you know what? The old much rather whip, tame a stallion than whip a donkey. Nate McKinnon doesn't take a lot of dumb penalties. Like, even that penalty that he took, like, you watch the replay, he barely touched the guy. So I think that's a ref who's like, okay, this is a 10-2 game. I'm not going to let any sort of hit go go unpunished. So I don't think it's an issue at all. I can tell you right now, the Canada guys love that Wilson's standing up for his teammates and he's playing well. He had a goal and an assist. So you know what? When you're going to play the U.S., if everything goes to plan, you're going to need to be on your emotional edge and hammering guys. And so I don't have an issue with it at all. I thought it was great.
Another story that I don't really think is a story, but it's popped up a little bit. People going, Jordan Binnington gave up a weak one against France. It's Jordan Binnington's crease, right? Like, we're not having a goaltending conversation.
I don't think so, unless he has, lets another softie in the quarterfinals, right? Where you're going to play either Czechia or Denmark. And, because the later you go in the tournament, 1 week goal could be the difference in the game. So I do think it's probably his. You let in a goal in what was it, 8-1 at that time when he scored, or 7-1. I don't even remember the name. So, he's still whatever. You allow 2 goals. It's not the end of the world to me that much. But so I do think, though, if it's another weak goal, if it was a tight game, it's probably different. It's hard for me to get too worked up about a meaningless goal in a blowout game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's also tough on goalies. And I talked with Carter Hutton about this. Like, when you're facing 9, 10, 11 shots in a hockey game, I think at that point he'd only face 7 when the second goal went in. Like, you're sitting there and it can be kind of tough when you're not facing any rubber. Then the first shot you face is like a 6 foot whatever giant on France just coming and unloading a slap shot on you. Like, I'll give him some leeway on that front as well. Spent the first chunk of the show talking about Macklin Celebrini, and it's obviously so positive to be, or so easy to be positive and gush about Celebrini. Has there been anything in his game or in how he's fit in with McDavid that's surprised you? Like, for me, I've been surprised at just how often, like, he is F1, he is in on the forecheck, he's the disruptor just as much as a Wilson is.
Yeah, he's very quick on pucks. Because, lots of times when he's playing with McKinnon and McDavid, he's a very fast player. I think he's made the transition to wing, because he doesn't play wing at all in San Jose, much easier than a lot of people think it is. It's more so in the defensive zone. Offensively, him being the winger with his speed, he's up ice a little bit more often, so he can be the first forechecker, and he's done it very well. And I've been very impressed with Celebrini's game, everything about his game. I think the team loves it, a 19-year-old, because they all know how hard it is to be 19, right? Drew Doughty's the closest. He was, I think, 20 in 2010. And, Sidney Crosby's probably thinking, see, I should have been there in 2006. But I look at everything about Celebrini. It's hard not to like his game. The moment at this point hasn't been too big for him at all. He's played the second most minutes per game amongst any forward, behind McDavid, 3 seconds more than McKinnon. And, obviously the coach trusts him. I think he adds some youthful exuberance, although in this tournament, they're basically all rookies except Crosby and Doughty at the Olympics. So I think that excitement's there. McDavid got over there earlier just to get himself acclimatized. And you know what? He's obviously played very well so far in this tournament, as have a lot of their top guys. So Celebrini, the thing that maybe stood out to me is I didn't know he had such a good one-timer.
Yeah, there's been a couple times where he's unloaded that. He had the near miss on the power play last game. That would have been, I think, second period, because we were watching that way. And he just I didn't even think it was a great pass. It looked like it was almost awkward, and he still got so much on it that moment still stands out to me. I want to talk about this tournament going forward a little bit now. And Aaron, if you have the bracket, maybe flash it up for us here to give us the visual. So we kind of know it's a true bracket for the first round. They won't reseed coming out of this qualifier. So Canada knows that they're getting the winner of Czechia, Denmark. USA is getting the winner of Sweden and Latvia. So likely going to be Sweden. But there is a path here where Canada could get, again, Czechia or Denmark in this next round. And hey, let's say Germany pulls off an upset over Slovakia in the next round. Canada could go Czechia, Germany, and be in the gold medal game, where the U.S. would potentially have to go Sweden, Finland to get in the gold medal game. And it's a long-winded way of me saying, do you have any concerns that Canada could get to a gold medal game and potentially have a matchup with the U.S. and basically have 5 straight blowout wins under their belts to get there? No adversity, no true test yet for them. Is that a concerning thing?
Not really. I think they've got a lot of guys who have played in cup finals and playoffs, and I think they would all know what's up for grabs. I will say, I love the seeding of the top 3 and then number 2, but Sweden's really getting screwed over here. They had 6 points. They should be the 5 seed. They have more points, and it shouldn't be 1 and then the best number 2s and then the 3 best number 3s. Because if you're in a division that's a little bit more competitive, that to me, I kind of find that odd, but it is what it is. I'd be surprised from what I've seen if Germany was able to beat Slovakia, to be honest. So I think Canada's probably going to get Finland, and I assume Sweden, they're going to play US. And I guess, if Sweden upsets the US, then Canada gets Sweden. But I would think it's probably going to be USA, Slovakia, Canada, Finland in the semifinals, assuming there's no upsets. And, obviously, Finland, them getting that number 4 seeds being massive because they might have the easiest run to the semifinal.
Yeah, again, like getting either. Well, it's probably going to be Switzerland, and then you're right from there wherever they
Kevin
go.
Fiala.
Yeah, no Kevin Fiala. They're missing one of their few NHLers, at least up front. Something that the chat's talking about right now, and I was going to ask you about it later on, but I'll throw it your way now. There's some speculation about Leon Draisaitl. A lot of shots of him on the bench holding an ice bag. People are pointing to a play against Minnesota where it looks like maybe he stung his hand a little bit. Some observations that he's not shooting the puck a ton in these games for Germany. Do you know anything about that? Are there any concerns on the Oilers front that he might not be 100%?
I haven't heard anything that's a major concern. Guys play nicked up, but keep in mind, everybody's concerned he's not shooting. Leon Draisaitl has created the second most scoring opportunities in the tournament, and he doesn't have the skill level around him that some of these other guys do. Yet the only guy who's created more high danger chances for their teammates is McDavid. So it's McDavid and Draisaitl 1-2. So, well, you know what? He's more of the playmaker. He's had the puck a ton there. So if you look at him, he really hasn't been set up to shoot a ton. I thought there was one play maybe where he could have shot, but is his hand bothering him a little bit? Yes. Could he miss a game or two? Probably, but there's nothing that now. Again, it's the Olympics, kind of like the playoffs. You don't get a lot of inside information, but there's nothing I've heard that suggests that they think it's any sort of long-term issue. And, it might just be something that's limited. But Draisaitl, keep in mind, anybody who watched the playoffs knows Draisaitl can play with a lot of pain and discomfort. So it hasn't really impacted his game that negatively because he's still set up a ton of plays.
Yeah, and if Germany were to lose in the quarterfinals, he would have a full week between the end of the Olympics and when the Oilers come back and resume play. And I would imagine that week off would probably give him some opportunity to heal up whatever sort of nicks and marks are bothering him right now. Two big debates coming into this, and I'll spin the USA into this conversation as well. Canada's roster gets named, and a lot of people, or at least the most common thing was, why didn't they bring more puck-moving defensemen? USA names their roster, and it was, why didn't they bring more skilled forwards? Through the preliminary round, do you think on either one of those debates, do you think the detractors and the haters when it came to, the naming of these teams and those two sort of beefs, do either one of them have some ground to stand on? Like, could USA, are you watching them going, they could use a Robertson? Or are you watching Canada going, they could use a Bouchard or a Chychrun? Or do you think both sides are still pretty happy with what they brought?
Yeah, I think right now I haven't seen anything that's like Canada's got 20 goals and 3 against. Are they really lacking offense? And honestly, against France, they probably could have 12. Like their goalie made some really good saves. So I don't think that, I saw people, look, there was one mistake in the game. That means Parayko's terrible. Like pump the brakes. I look at it. I don't think there's any change. The one thing about there's 2 things I've been a little surprised by. Tage Thompson and his lack of minutes, only 10 minutes a night. So if you're bringing Robertson and those other guys, if Tage Thompson's only playing 10 minutes, like what are they going to play, right? Like Kyle Connor, kind of for the second major tournament, has almost played himself out of the lineup again, which is interesting to watch. I look at, there's my chart I made. Nice.
Yeah.
I look at like, where would you put him in, Robertson? Really? Like they obviously like, Miller, like even Jack Hughes, who's only playing 12 minutes a night. Right? Like they've got their top 6, and I think they look at Robertson. If he isn't better than one of our top 6, we don't think he fits in a bottom 6 kind of style role. And I can understand that. And then on Canada's side, their defense minutes, now they really haven't been tested in any games yet, right? So it's hard for me to sit here and say, hey, would Bouchard make him better? Like, I don't know. I can't see them. Like Makar's playing 19 minutes. Thomas Harley's played great. Then you got Taves and Parayko and Doughty, Shea Theodore. So I don't think that Doughty and Parayko have because that's who Bouchard would be playing, right? I don't think that they've impacted the team negatively. And like, look at Travis Sanheim. He played the most minutes against France, which was that just because it's a blowout, or are the coaches like, hey, we've kind of seen something. We want to see more from him and see what we've got potentially moving forward. And then there's obviously the Josh Morrissey factor. Like, is he going to get back in the lineup? Like we heard Marchand is, haven't really heard anything on Morrissey.
Yeah, well, with Morrissey, I guess, and you can leave this up here, Aaron. Like, they obviously really, like you said, they maybe saw something in Sanheim. Maybe it was a blowout. Sure. Thomas Harley, I think, has had a great tournament. Makar and Taves, you're not breaking up. So if Morrissey's ready, are you taking out Theodore or Doughty? I don't think Parayko's coming out. So are you taking out a Theodore or a Doughty if Morrissey's good to go? Or do you sit there and say, you know what? Josh Morrissey's maybe at 95% health-wise, and that extra 5%, that's enough of a differentiator to he's not in our lineup.
No, well, exactly. Like if this was, an NHL roster, the drop-off from Josh Morrissey to most second and third pair guys in most NHL teams is his 95 or 90% is better than them. But on this team, if he's 95%, is he better than Theodore? I don't think so. I'm not sold he's better than, I think they're pretty close players. So, and there's no chance they're taking Doughty out. They like his experience. And one thing Doughty's done incredibly well in this tournament, watch how many times when guys go to chip pucks in, he just knocks it down before it goes deep. I know it might seem like a small thing, but Drew Doughty's experience, you get into a gold medal game, there's only 2 guys in your room that have been there. There is zero chance Drew Doughty's not in the lineup just for his experience. And you go back and, to your audience related to Connor McDavid talked about what Duncan Keith meant to their team in 2022 in those big moments. Say, hey guys, let's just stay calm. You don't have to get loud and boisterous and fired up to show you care. You can care by being controlled. And I think Doughty in a gold medal game that I know that 4 nations, but 4 nations isn't the Olympics. It's different. And, even Nathan McKinnon said it. He goes, he just played in the 4 nations. Like, God, I couldn't even sleep before the first game in the Olympics. So it's a bigger deal. And I think Doughty, no question, he'll be in the lineup.
And along those lines, like McDavid even wrote in that Players Tribune piece he was a part of, he talked about how in the overtime, that intermission before OT in the 4 nations, he said he looked around the room and Marchand was taping his stick and Sid and Doughty were both calm, and that had an effect on him. So again, we want to talk about a 19-year-old Macklin Celebrini, maybe a Tom Wilson who could, maybe he'd get too fired up in some instances, and having these veterans around, I do think there is that ripple effect throughout the locker room. One more for you. Again, just sort of taking a look at the tournament as a whole. I don't think we're really on upset watch with very many teams in the qualifying round, but is there one of those teams? Obviously, Sweden would have a shot at beating the USA. They're a good program, but like Czechia, Switzerland, Germany, is there one of them that you think has a better chance than the others of maybe really surprising us and potentially getting past their quarterfinal matchup?
Well, probably Germany, because I think they have like Slovakia of all the teams is the one that I think, could get beat in the quarterfinals. So like Germany's beating France, right? Like let's be honest here. Like I love France. I thought they gave Canada a good run, but Germany's going to beat them. I will say the other one is Switzerland, right? Like those two are probably the one. Like Sweden, hey, they're playing the USA, and that's a tough matchup for the US, no question. But the one thing about Sweden in major tournaments, man, like look at even this tournament. They should be the 3 seed here. They should be. Like Raymond just kind of gave them that game. Like, you just gave it away there with that bad slash at that time. Now I know they still got to score in the power play, but Sweden, just for whatever reason, as good as they've been, like they're the opposite of Finland in the major tournaments. They find ways to not reach the potential that we think they have. Meanwhile, the Finns always somehow end up punching above their weight class and what you expected, because most people thought Sweden was going to win that pool, and obviously Slovakia did, but really kind of came down to that one play by Sweden and cost them the game.
Yeah, I mean, it is a time. It happens every tournament where you sit there and you're disappointed in what Sweden ends up bringing to the table. That's true in the World Juniors a lot of years too. Like, yeah, this Olympic no exception. Last one, because I lied about the last one being my last one. Did you hear the Matt Tkachuk chirp on Leon Draisaitl? What'd you think of it?
You know what, man? You can tell people that are ultra soft and have never played any sport. Like, if you're getting offended by that, like, honestly, there is nothing like that. That is a chirp. And trust me, Leon's like, hey, what do you say to that? Right? Like, Brady Tkachuk chirping is probably the more funny part about it. But, Matthew Tkachuk is a great villain in the game. And, like it is, hey, you're chirping Germany, Matt. Like, hey, it looks bad, but that's what you can do when you're on the better team. Would some people say it's classless? I guess if you're that thin-skinned, like, give me a break. That's not really that harsh of a chirp. So let's, like, oh my God, I couldn't imagine what some of these people, they would have to curl up in a ball if they hear what sometimes guys say to each other on the ice. Like, I'm telling you, that is nothing. And the best chirps are usually those ones. Because, yeah, it stings because, Draisaitl wants to win a Stanley Cup. No question. He wants to win a cup, right? And he's lost 2 in a row. And so if you're trying to get a guy off his game, and the only reason Kachuk and them are going after Draisaitl, because he knows he's the best player in Germany. Like, if you can negate Draisaitl, your chances of winning are massive, right? It's different than in a NHL game where, hey, if we calm Draisaitl down, yeah, but McDavid comes at us, right? Or if you get Kachuk off his game, Barkov comes at you. You know what I mean? But on Germany right now, everybody knows who their top dog is, and it's a pretty big gap between the next guy.
Appreciate you popping on. Thanks for doing this, and enjoy the quarterfinal matchups throughout the week.
Have a good one.
There you go. Jason Gregor from the Jason Gregor Show. You can hear him on the DFO Rundown. He does 1 episode a week with Merrick, 1 episode a week with Mike Rupp. You can find that not only on the DFO YouTube, but wherever you get your podcasts from. Continuing along, that was also brought to you by our friends at Capital GMC Buick. Check out their extensive inventory of top quality vehicles like the 2026 GMC Terrain Denali or the 2026 Sierra Denali Ultimate. Capital GMC Buick is dedicated to providing you with the best possible customer service, and they are rated the #1, think about that, #1 GM dealership in the country by Dealer Rater, and it's been that way for 3 consecutive years. The only GM dealer in Edmonton endorsed by JD Power as a dealer of excellence. Yeah. If you guys are actually upset about Matt Kachuk's chirp on Draisaitl, I don't know what to tell you. Listen, this is an Oilers show. We are all Oilers fans. The chirp works. We've been the bridesmaid the last 2 years. We've made it to the dance. We've been to the end of the aisle. We just haven't been the ones getting the ring. It's a fair chirp. You can tell the people who have never played like a heated sport in their lives or aren't wired competitively like that. Like, way worse shit has probably been said in these Olympics. We just haven't heard about it on a hot mic, which brings me to what's trending, everybody. We'll do a couple of Olympic things. Mikhail Kingsbury wins gold in dual moguls, Canada's first gold medal of these games. It was electric. He basically got to capitalize on a mistake from, I think it was an Italian skier who kind of just went a little bit too fast and then couldn't make the last jump. The image of Kingsbury winning and knowing instantly as he kind of slid across the finish line that he had won and banging his fist on the ground. Very cool. That's what the Olympics are all about. And now let's talk curling. The controversy surrounding friend of the show, friend of the program, Mark Kennedy. It's fucking ridiculous. You can tell who in the general public having their opinions on this has never watched professional curling before or only watched professional curling once every 4 years. Calling Mark Kennedy a cheater for what he did is the equivalent of watching a hockey game, seeing a defenseman ice the puck and be like, oh my God, what a cheater. Ruining the sanctity of the sport by icing the puck. If you've ever curled before, you know that releasing a rock and touching the back of the granite as you release it, there's no competitive advantage to be gained by that. Not one, none. It's not like he was holding it 3 feet past the fucking hog line or they're kicking rocks or anything like that. Ridiculous that this is even elevated to the point of controversy. And that is where I actually get pissed off because Nicholas Edin and that Swedish rink, you know what they do all winter? They curl in the Grand Slam of curling against the Brad Jacobs rink, against Mark Kennedy. They see this shit week after week. That's how Mark Kennedy curls. Everybody does it in curling. Like, again, that little thin tap push of the rock that happens all the time. It just never gets called for Sweden to basically watch Canada or watch these Canadian players, Mark Kennedy, do this in the Grand Slam events and all throughout the year and basically never say boo about it. And then on an international big stage, when the whole world's watching, they decide to take this as their moment to puff out their chest and get frustrated because they're losing and say, oh, you guys are cheating. It was a chance for them to take a shot at Canada, in my opinion. And they wanted to make this a controversy to try to show up Canada. That's all it was. It's anti-Canadian. That's what I'm calling this curling controversy. People are saying it's all mind games. Sure. Someone said, why do it then? I don't know. It's a part of his delivery. It's a precise precision sport. You're trying to hold on to the rock until the very, very last second. Half the time, like I bet you Mark Kennedy didn't even know he was doing it. And you could probably tell that by how adamantly he was denying it. Is that maybe that's the only bad look, is that he was so fiercely defensive? But again, view it through the lens of you curl against these guys all year. They never say boo. And now all of a sudden in the Olympics, you want to be on national TV in all of these different countries and you want to call me a cheater and try to make me look bad when you know that Swedish team knows that there's no advantage to be gained by doing that. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Yeah, and Mike D to set up the camera to try catch it. The whole thing. I thought it was Bush League from Sweden to pull the shit that they did. End of my take. And I know you're not all here to have me talk freaking curling. All right, we're gonna wrap up the show in a couple of minutes here. Oh, Aaron, if you're there, and I think you are, I think I see you down there. Can you give me the last thing for what's trending? Update me on this Kevin Durant burner situation, because it's hilarious, but I don't think I really fully know the whole story behind this whole thing.
All right. So, hi, everybody. Happy to be here. Kevin Durant, the king of the internet, the king of X.com. Love him or hate him, you watched. So we obviously know he's been known for having burner accounts in the past, which catch up that his fake Twitter account where he goes and tweets back at people, fires back, and he's famous for doing it. And all of this. He has been in some, I think that's a Discord chat is where it is. You can look it up, just search his name on Twitter, on X.com. And he's been in these chats just destroying his own teammates, calling them at things that are not appropriate to be calling anybody at any point, let alone the guy who's probably getting paid $30-something million a season, and he's ripping his team. He's saying crazy things about former coach Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors. He was saying stuff about Steph, which you don't go with Steph. You don't go with Steph. He's a good guy. But this KD stuff is just such another layer of once again, he's so good at basketball. So I believe that he's just grandfathered in my opinion, and he can get away with doing all of these things. But Ty, we talked about it pre-show. Somebody said read some. Absolutely not. We talked about pre-show. It's like Leon Draisaitl, like being in a public group chat and he's just destroying Evan Bouchard for making ridiculous turnovers. And then he's going to go up to the media and they're going to ask him about it. And Katie's going to have some sly remark where he's not going to answer it. He's going to keep doing it. And it is what it is with Katie. It's a fascinating situation.
It is crazy that this is coming out again. He's one of the best players of all time, and this is the shit he still does, like running his mouth on Twitter. It's wild. But thank you for the breakdown, Aaron. Yeah. All right, we'll wrap up for our friends at Bet365. Download the app today. Use the promo code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Tomorrow, qualifying round games get going at 4:10 a.m. I believe is the first one. I like Germany -2.5 against France. I like the under between Switzerland and Italy. It's under 6.5, paying +115. I think I like Czechia on the puck line against Denmark, -1.5. I do. I like that. I don't mind the over there either, but I'll take Czechia -1.5. And then I'll take Sweden -2.5. They'll get their act together. All four of those together, +901. Little action as we work our way through the remainder of the qualifying round and then into the quarterfinals. Of course, Liam and I are going to be back on the show tomorrow. Wednesday, we'll have a live show basically immediately following the Canada game. So the Canada game will end. I'll join Jeff Merrick for a hit, and then I'll peel on to here, and we'll talk about the Canada game a little bit more on ON Everyday. So lots to get to still on the week. Maybe tomorrow we'll take a look at some of these Team Canada futures as well. So plenty of stuff going on. One last closing thought. I know a bunch of you brought it up earlier. San Jose has placed Jeff Skinner on waivers for the purpose of terminating his contract. Been there, done that. I think is a fair way to do it. Like, as much as I personally would kind of go like, I wonder what a Roslovic, Skinner, Savoy, a super offensive third line. They're not doing it. Chris Knobloch would have no interest in playing him if he didn't have interest in playing him a year ago. So yeah, there you go. That is my Jeff Skinner take. I really don't think it is a fit at all in Edmonton. I think he's going to go somewhere where he can play 20 or 15 minutes a night and actually play a regular shift. I don't know, maybe like a Columbus or some shit like that. But I don't think a playoff team is going to take a shot on Jeff Skinner. Okay, that's a wrap on today's edition of the show. Enjoy the rest of your family day, everybody. A short and abbreviated edition of this one today. If you want a little bit more content, though, I did a full live show with Carter Hutton, full Daily Faceoff live, about 40 minutes long. That's over on the Daily Faceoff YouTube, so you can go watch that there, or head over to the website. I got answers. So does Gregor. Bagged Milk was in the Monday mailbag. So go give that a read over on Oilersnation.com. But enjoy the rest of your Monday. If you're not working, kick back, relax. Tomorrow, enjoy the hockey, and we'll see you right back here at Noon Mountain. Oil up. What's up, Nation citizens? If you enjoyed today's episode of Oilers Nation Everyday, make sure you hit the subscribe button here on our YouTube to not miss any of our content. We got you covered from interviews, insight, analysis, everything you need to stay up to date on everything around the team. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video.